Drop it on them random.
What up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of That Time in Hip Hop, a podcast about the history, the nostalgia, but more importantly, the preservation of hip hop music and culture. I am your host, Vegas of Hip Hop Now podcast. As always, with me, the homie Tone of IntoTheDome.com, who just dropped a new article on Nipsey Hussle that's dope. Y'all need to check it out. What's good, fam?
Hey man, appreciate that. A little cayenne and ginger tonight. Last week it was some of the devil's nectar, and today I'm going healthy.
Yeah, man, I'm riding with the devil, man. It's just light instead of dark this time. It's just light.
It is what it is.
Light that I made dark. But again, if you're listening or watching for the first time, please know that this podcast is available in audio form as well as video form. So if you want to watch it, you can just go on YouTube, just put in That Time in Hip Hop. It's a little crowded, so it may be difficult to find. But if you see That Time in Hip Hop as a title and you see something old school from hip hop, you know it's us. Subscribe to the channel. The channel is B-Roll Network. But if you don't have time to watch the video, but you could throw the headphones in at work and you want to rock with it as you typey or shit. If you mop the floor, whatever you do, you know what I'm saying? You can look on iTunes or Spotify or iHeartRadio. All you got to do is search for Hip Hop Now Podcast. Hit that subscribe button. And not only is my weekly news podcast of Hip Hop Now Podcast there, but also every episode of That Time in Hip Hop. And one more thing I'm going to throw in there. Even if you don't do all of that, and let's say you heard about Tone and IntoTheDome.com and you travel there and you're reading articles and you're enjoying it, That Time in Hip Hop is available there as well. So you can get to the video, you can get to the audio. We are everywhere. So we do our homework. But most importantly, it's important that you subscribe to stay up to date and obviously share it with people enjoy this kind of content. Now we get into a part of this podcast where we like to do what happened this week in hip hop. And then this week in hip hop, make sure I get it right, on April 8th, 1964, none other than Biz Markie was born. Known for beatboxing, crazy songs, hits, hits galore in the 80s, a classic album, Biz Goes Off, just Biz was the man back then, like big time. He was a huge character in hip hop. Most people know him now for DJing, but they don't understand how big this dude was as an MC in the hip hop game in the early and mid 80s and late 80s. Tone, Biz Markie on his birthday, man. What are your thoughts about that, brother?
Biz, man, he was a character, man. Still is a character. He's, like you said, entertainment value, man. He's probably one of the best in his era in terms of just keeping you engaged in his songs. Just a lot of charisma on the mic. Make no mistake about it. Big Daddy Kane did write a lot of his music, but he brought the music to life. Just like an R&B singer, a lot of them don't write their songs. Some do, but some don't. But that still doesn't mean you don't bring life and energy into a track. So Biz could take something that someone else might have written some ideas for him, and then he put the life and the character into the song, man. Very entertaining, funny. One of the first legends of the beatbox game that we'll talk about later. Classic Nobody Beats the Biz, making music with your mouth, Biz. You can hear that in old school sets right now and, in parties all over the world. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes he might be DJ at that party, like you said. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So he managed to see a second life in hip hop. He deserves it. He's one of the pioneers of the game, affiliate of Juice Crew, if I'm not mistaken. And just, man, what can you say about Biz Markie, man? I personally, real quick, love, and I hate to say I love this song, but he had a song called 13 and Good, I believe, or Young Girls Blues. 13 and Good was KRS-One. Young Girl Blues was Biz Markie, excuse me, to the listeners. And that song was so funny, but the video was cool. And The beat was dope, but Biz could make songs like live, man. Just a Friend, Spring Again. You know what I'm saying? Like he did his thing, man. So yeah, big shout out to Biz Markie, man. I've been at a few parties where he DJ, man, and dude can spin, man, and that's saying a lot because a lot of people who got big names in hip hop try to DJ. They really can't DJ. Biz can DJ. Shout out to the legend.
Yeah, and like you said, man, a character in hip hop, probably to me, like one of those guys who, like at least, you know, this is how I felt about it. You know, you may not have looked at him as, you know, the most skilled of the skilled rappers, and he's in your top 5 MCs of all time type thing. But being a character, being able to spit it with a personality that can't really be matched, always suggested that not everybody had to be the ultimate spitter. Some dudes' persona is enough, on the mic at least, is enough to carry them through as a solo artist, like a la Eazy-E. Eazy-E wasn't a rapper, but you knew he was a gangster, so what he had to say, you believed it. You know what I'm saying? And only Biz Markie, and maybe a couple of other people like himself, like Old Dirty or maybe Flavor Flav, but Biz Markie made a song about picking boogers.
Yeah,
and people liked it. So
yeah,
I mean, and it was descriptive.
Yeah,
and he frequently talked about writing rhymes while on the toilet. Like, I mean, it's just the type of songs that, you know, nowadays some people would ridicule people for making, whereas this was a time where hip hop was having fun, and it was about fun and lyrics, and you know, especially with the videos. Just, you know, Just a Friend, which was a huge hit for him. The Vapors, records like that. Biz had classics, straight up hip hop classics in the game. So salute to him on his birthday, man. He's still here. Go over to Twitter and Instagram and all that, man. Get that man his flowers, man. He is a legend in the hip hop game, for sure. But now we're going to get into the part of the show, speaking of beatboxing, where we talk about a group that seldomly gets mentioned, that we don't even know why not, considering how large, excuse the pun, they were back when they were out. Tone, people haven't guessed it already by looking at the title and what's happening in the background, man. Tell them who we here to talk about today.
Well, before I say who we're here to talk about, let me say this. Brooklyn, New York, as you well know, is one of the center points for some of the dopest MCs and dopest groups in hip-hop history. I mean, hell, Big Daddy came from Brooklyn. You know, Biggie Smalls, Jay-Z. Then you look at, you know, the Boot Camp Clique and Jeru the Damage and all of these different Special Ed. You know, all of these different legends of the game represent Brooklyn. But there are also a few other guys from Brooklyn also who, like you said, unsung for whatever reason. And these guys are originally known as the Disco 3, but you guys might have heard of them when they changed their names to the Fat Boys. Now, for a younger audience, when you look at the pictures, you know, you see these fat guys, you think there's some, you know, they're clowning hip hop. But let me say this. They are legends in the game. They did a lot of firsts that we'll get into. They've been on worldwide tours, but they started relatively unknown. They participated in different talent shows and contests and things of that nature, and they grinded their way to meeting a few big people. One being Kurtis Blow, who actually produced the first 2 albums. So think about that. Kurtis Blow produced the Fat Boys' first 2 albums. And we'll get into that in a few minutes and some of the singles and stuff like that. For whatever reason, Fat Boys get overlooked, man, and we're going to celebrate their career today. We're going to talk about each one of these guys a little bit individually, man. But do you remember, and I'll tell you mine after you, do you remember the first time you heard the Fat Boys, man?
The first time I heard the Fat Boys was the Human Beatbox joint. Because, like, when beatboxing, you know, was like beatboxing was on the same level as rapping. If you could beatbox rapping and dancing and graphic, like tagging and all of that, like if you could beatbox really good, like you could be a star. in your neighborhood.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You could probably go on tour with people and all of that. And you know, obviously, when this trait in hip hop that certain people have, you start to think like, well, who's the best? And you know, obviously, we mentioned Biggie, Biz Markie. We know Dougie Fresh. But honestly, when I heard the human beatbox and I heard Buffy
Right.
beatboxing, and I didn't know their name or nothing, I was just like, damn, the bass in his beatbox.
Yes. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like it was one of them things where it was like, damn, that almost sounds like a beats playing because it was just so much bass in it. And I just remember loving that record because, you know, Prince Markie D, you know, he rhymed like, you know, they rhymed. They were aggressive. Also Kool Rock Ski, who's lyrically slept on because he had some bars back in the days. Like if you go back and listen now, you listen to Kool Rock Ski's lyrics, you like, wait a minute, man, he might have been one of the first ones to really have some technical rhymes in his raps back then. But yeah, man, like, that was my first experience, not even seeing them, just kind of hearing the, you know, staying up late at night listening to hip hop and hearing it, you know, be called the human beatbox and just admiring how dope it was. And, you know, when I saw them and they were like the Fat Boys, like when they first came out, they wasn't really that fat. You know, they got bigger later. But when they first came out, you could kind of see it a little bit in that video. You know, they had a little bit of weight on them, but look at Prince Markie D. Like that's in some circles, that's not even fat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you know, that's true, man. And I agree with you 100%. I heard the human beatbox first. My brother, like I always say, I always give my brother a shout out every so many episodes as the person who introduced me to hip hop because he's 7 years older than me. I'm in my mid-40s, so you can imagine I heard everything by the time I was 8, 9, 10 years old. But I remember him having the record, and I heard the human beatbox, and then I heard Jailhouse rap. And to your point, hearing Kool Rock Ski and Prince Markie D rap for that era and that time period, like these guys were actually rhyming. Like you think about the way that Run DMC was rapping and the way some of the early guys were rapping. The Fat Boys were actually rapping like that. Now, their hooks might have been funny, videos and presentation was kind of funny, but if you listen to Kool Rock Ski and Prince Markie D actually rhyming, they was rhyming the same way everybody else was rhyming back then. Like there wasn't no slouches on the mic. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'll give you an example. Prince Markie D is kind of like his tree of influence can go to Heavy D, then to Biggie. Because a lot of people know that Biggie was influenced by Heavy D, but Heavy D was also kind of influenced by Prince Markie D because whenever the Fat Boys had some kind of love type of song or love interest, Prince Markie D would be the one who would rhyme about chicks and stuff like that. So it kind of passed down from Prince Markie D to Heavy D to Biggie Smalls. And I know some people might think, well, how do you come up with that correlation? But trust me, if you do your research on these guys, you'll hear the influence, you know, in the rhymes, man. So yeah, my first time hearing though was obviously the Fat Boys self-titled, you know, album with some of them tracks on there. And, you know, I was listening to it today riding on the highway. And I'm like, man, you know, I forgot how much they really rapped. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, it really, like, seriously, man, it kind of took me off guard because it had been years since I've heard them again. You know, I just pulled out the crates again and I was like, wow, man, these dudes really rhyming, man. You know what I'm saying? But I enjoyed when I first heard them. You know, the production was dope because Davey DMX was doing some production, and of course the legendary Larry Smith. So the beats and the music were actually fitting with the time. You know what I'm saying? Like you could take the Fat Boys off these songs, put Run DMC on. You know what I'm saying? So that just kind of gave listeners some perspective on their sound. The sound was dope. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they had a couple of funny songs and things like that because, you know, they were entertaining. Again, just like Biz Markie was, which is ironic that we celebrated Biz Markie at the beginning of the show today when Biz, we know, was directly influenced by Buff Love. You know what I'm saying? Like we know that. Same with you know Dougie Fresh because the Fat Boys kind of started in New York around '82 before they even signed a record contract. They were in the neighborhoods rapping and beatboxing and everything before you know blowing up. So we know the influence was there in Brooklyn and all over the boroughs, man. So, it's just one of them things where it's unfortunate that a lot of people don't know about it, but I'm glad we're able to talk about them today, man. So you have another memory, man, of them before I get into some of their first, you know what I mean?
I think like my biggest memory besides the music and records like Stick 'em and stuff like that is Crush Groove, because that was the first time I really got to like almost feel like I knew them. You know what I'm saying? Because granted, when Crush Groove came out, and if you don't know about Crush Groove, we did an episode on the whole movie, so you should check that out. But when when that came out, and being a kid, and obviously we in awe of all these dope MCs from this time. That's Run DMC's there, Curtis Blow's there, LL's there. We're a fan of all of them, and it was dope how they did the Fat Boys, because it was like the Fat Boys was the one group that wasn't really on, that was struggling to get on. They were almost like comic relief, but again, like me and Tone said, when it was time to spit, when it was time to hit the beatbox, like they were a force to be reckoned with. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Tone, I believe that their storyline mirrored real life for them, where they actually did win a contest.
Yes.
I don't know if they wanted to get a record deal, but it kind of, I guess their storyline in the movie mirrored their real life story as far as them trying to get on.
Yeah, it absolutely did. I think it was WBLS had a contest, and a lot of people entered the contest, and everyone said that Fat Boys ended up being unlikely winners because a lot of things back then was looked on as appearance, who looked fresh, who looked whatever. But when you listen to the music, and then you saw Buff Love beatboxing and these two dudes MCing for real, it's like, okay, let's look past the look right now, dude. Yeah. These cats are kind of nice, you know what I'm saying? But see, Russell Simmons and a couple other people weren't always sold on them yet to put them on tours and stuff. But they did a couple of campaigning and things of that nature, and ended up being chosen to be on tour. Run DMC and Houdini and a few other acts, man. And after that, they became some crowd favorites. They was opening up and things like that. But Crush Groove, again, did tell their story, put them even more on the map. But another thing I thought about, Veg, was when we think about Kid and Play and the House Party franchise and other rappers ended up being in movies and things like that. After Crush Groove, a couple years later, they did what's that? The Disorderlies.
Disorderlies.
You know what I mean? And they pretty much starred in Disorderlies. That's their movie. When you think of Kid Play and House Party, they had their own comedy already. They ended up being a pretty big hit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And they were the stars of the movie, man. You know what I'm saying? And they also played a role in a movie called I think it was Night of Kings or something like that. But The Disorders was their movie. So
that's what people get. I think that's what makes them being unsung sometimes puzzling to me as a hip hop fan. I get it, but the Fat Boys did a lot of stuff before a lot of other rappers. Like they paved the way. Like sure, maybe they also got a lot of dirt on the business side done to them. I can imagine at that point because nobody else was really doing it. But like you said, man, this is a movie starring the Fat Boys.
Yeah, absolutely.
And really off the strength of their appearance in Crush Groove and as MCs and their popularity in the hip hop game. It's like undeniable. Probably because of that scene in that song right there in Crush Groove, because I used to love that scene with the All You Can Eat song.
All You Can Eat.
Yeah. Do that now. Oh yeah, let me throw this disclaimer out there, right? Because what some people who weren't around during that time don't realize, as you think of the way things are now and being politically correct and stuff like that, like Tone said, they were like unlikely winners because of the way they looked. Why? Because back then, people just assumed if you were good at rapping, if you were that good, they didn't expect it to come from three fat boys. You know what I'm saying? Because
remember this, Vag, before Tupac and the shirt off and stuff like that, Curtis Blow used to have his shirt open with his little chain or whatever. He was a slim dude. Grandma Flash Melly Mel used to always show his body. He was kind of buff, things like that. So a lot of the MC, then LL, of course, became the heartthrob pretty boy with taking his shirt off. So it was about looks too for the MCs at that time. And these guys were very unlikely, man. But again, when I think about their unsung career, Fat Boys had 7 albums, man. 3 of them were gold and 1 of them was platinum. You know what I'm saying? Several gold platinum singles. Did a song with the Beach Boys and with the Chubby Checker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
oh man, I remember that.
Wipeout and all that. So they were not, let me do this though. This is my Fat Boys greatest.
Oh, wow.
Hits. This is the tape, people, because I keep tapes in here also.
Wow.
From 30 years ago almost. And just let me say a few songs, because it's funny, because one side is called Disco 3, another side the Fat Boys. But you have the Fat Boys title track, Human Beatbox, Jailhouse Rap, Can You Feel It? The Fat Boys Are Back, Don't Be Stupid, All You Can Eat, In the House, Sex Machine, Wipeout with the Beach Boys, The Twist with Chubby Checker. So that's just these were big songs, people. Like, don't think that this is just underground. In the 80s, Fat Boys, they were stars, superstars at one point by the time the these came out. So this is the greatest hits, the tape. You know what I'm saying? We keep it that time in hip hop. We keep it authentic with tapes,
apes.
Yes, sir. But yeah, man, I just wanted to share that real quick, because I looked over and said, "Damn, I got the Fat Boys tape over here." But yeah, man, it's just it's just fun times thinking about what they brought to the game, and there was an era where it was about having fun. Yeah, we ended up going to the gangster era, and then the conscious era again, and the dope dealing era. We went through a lot of eras in hip hop. But they remind me of the fun times, man, when you kind of make a joke out of yourself. You know what I mean? Like, you wasn't too cocky or too over the top to be like, hey, this is me. I'm having fun. You know what I'm saying? And we need more hip hop like that in terms of, just bringing some joy instead of so much pain all the time. We know music reflects, life, the art reflects in it, but they just takes me back to a fun time, man, going to the fair and to the amusement park and hearing Wipeout being played and stuff like that, man. Just some good times.
Yeah, I think a part of what was great about the Fat Boys was what was also not going to help them to transition past, their stage of success, because again, they became damn near pop stars on a mainstream level very quick. You know what I'm saying? And hip hop hadn't caught up to them, because like even when Run DMC was doing their work, it was just them that was having that level of success. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like it is now, where you can make a country song and rap on it and be big. You know what I'm saying? Like back then, it was a select few who were going gold or going platinum, let alone having their own movies and crossing over and doing records with like the Beach Boys and Chubby Checker. But I think, like you said, it became a point where lyricism was getting stepped up, and the Fat Boys as a group had did so much to kind of remove themselves, not purposely, it's just they took the opportunities, remove themselves from traditional hip hop. So like the traditional hip hop fans see you making Wipeout records and do the twist. It's kind of like it takes away from the skills, the beatboxing, all the things that attracted us to you at that early stage. You know what I'm saying? And then let alone, like Tone said, you go further up and you start to reach the 90s. Not only is the skill level raised, but now don't nobody want to hear that. You know what I'm saying? When you got Ice Cube and NWA and you got, a Tribe Called Quest on the way, and you eventually got Nas and Biggie and all them on the way. It's kind of like, yeah, you may be still around, but don't nobody really want to hear the Fat Boys, because the last image in your mind was, Disorderlies or All You Can Eat or something like that. So Tone, what do you think it was fair, for one, what happened to the Fat Boys, and do you think it was a case, because obviously we don't know this much in detail, but do you think it was a case where maybe the only business they can get was business that kind of made them look like buffoons, when maybe they wanted to be taking that serious as recording artists later in their career?
You know what? Good question. A lot of different ways to look at this, because some artists, even though they might be good artists, they're a prisoner to the era they were raised in. You know what I mean? And Fat Boys, unfortunately, their style, because they didn't necessarily change they changed their style into a more mainstream, but it was still kind of, when they started going mainstream, they kind of became characters of themselves almost. And I know it probably wasn't on purpose. It wasn't on purpose to sell out, but they did have to cash them chips in later in their career, because they started off authentic in the era they was in. Like, they was rhyming, like I said, like Run DMC, it was beatboxing before Dougie Fresh and Bismarck and all that. But to really eat and make money at some point, they did start doing songs with bigger artists. And I think they became prisoners of that era. And I'm not sure, when the era started shifting, they couldn't do anything really to migrate into the next era. Like, for example, LL Cool J came out like, 85? He had the look, the skill, and at some point he was able to transition into, and even though he had some rough patches at certain points, he was able to make a Mr. Smith in 1995. You know, Run DMC was able to do stuff with Pete Rock in the early 90s, and certain people can transcend some time. But with the Fat Boys and their style, they couldn't transcend into another era as the Fat Boys. But Prince Markie did at some point, when he broke away and started doing his own thing and making a couple of records and stuff. He was able to transition some. He lost a little bit of weight. He already kind of was a little heartthrob to a degree. At one point, he was engaged to Pepper from Salt and Pepper. You know what I'm saying? In the early 90s, he started producing and writing for several people. Let me see here. Mary J. Blige and J-Lo and Mariah Carey and Craig Mack and Mark Anthony even. So he was producing and writing songs for some big artists in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? So his skills transcended over because he was doing stuff behind the scene. But the visual of the Fat Boys, once you had NWA, like you said, once you had, these big groups and Tupac started rising, and, then you get in the 90s with the Outkast and all these different creative groups, their look was going to end up, unfortunately, dying with that era. It's kind of unfair, I guess, but at the same time, they didn't do anything to really stick around, because they would have probably went back to some of their roots going into the next era. People would have respected them more. So they became like a group that you would see probably performing at some carnival or something like that. It's like, man, this is where we are right now. You know what I'm saying? So I think, unfortunately, that probably happened to them to a degree. Maybe not their fault, but maybe it was because physically how they look. Buff died in 1995. You know what I'm saying? And that was pretty much the end of it. And Kurosaki ended up losing weight. He looks totally different. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you think Kurosaki, he doesn't even look the same anymore.
He doesn't look like so I think, like you said, like they were prisoners of their own success. And unfortunately, a lot of it had to do with the reasons why we liked them. You know what I'm saying? We liked them because they look different from Curtis Blow or whatever. We liked them because they could rap, because, Buffy was one of the dopest beatboxers of all time. But like you said, as time went on and you transitioned, they couldn't transition as a group. They had some inner turmoil, some infighting over money, between them, where they wasn't talking to each other. They wasn't on speaking terms.
Yeah, and, unfortunately.
And around the early 90s and all that, late 80s, the source is already popping. So we're getting this word in. We already writing the Fat Boys off because they from a different time as far as we're concerned, let alone they're not going to be together. Why would we want to hear them separately in the 90s? I will say this, like you said, man, Prince Markie D was basically keeping himself relevant behind the scenes, writing records. But he had one record in 1993, was released in September of 1993. It's called Swing My Way. I think the name is Swing My Way. That record was hot. I mean, I remember when I heard it, and I was like, wait a minute, this is Prince Markie D? It's along the LL Heavy D, smooth for the ladies.
Absolutely.
Working with the sample. It was really dope. And I remember at that time thinking like, well, the Fat Boy's not coming back, but I think Prince Marky D about to make a resurgence because this record was so dope to me. Obviously, it never really popped off like that. But I just thought that was, I thought that was dope. And it's unfortunate, man, that it didn't work out for them, in the 90s and, the situation. Because again, like we said, for as big as they were and trendsetters as far as, the movies and the merchandising they had, and just the name, the Fat Boys, of what they represented, we don't know what the business deals was like. You know what I'm saying? Because
they were pretty terrible.
Yeah, they were getting deals that rappers weren't accustomed to having to worry about. Like, rappers weren't even accustomed to regular recording contracts,
right?
Let alone a movie deal or cartoon or whatever, or cereal or merchandise or whatever. So, a lot of that probably played a role. And I remember hearing about, like, when Buffy died and, learning about, like, where he lived. And I just always had in my mind, like, damn, shouldn't he have more money than that? You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't like he was living in the slums or anything like that. But I just expected more, given the level of success they had as a group. Now, Tone,
right?
We, like you mentioned earlier, the Fat Boys is kind of like the beginning of, you don't have to be, thin, 8-pack, taco meat showing. You could be a regular dude who's hefty and can spit and got a little charisma, and you could be on. Clearly, like you said, clearly influenced somebody like Heavy D, even though I think with Heavy D, his big thing was Heavy D could dance his ass off. And I think that's surprised people. People would look like, damn, Heavy, whoa, I never seen a dude move like that. But Heavy D, but probably to me, more than anything, Biggie, because like Biggie brought a certain level of sex appeal to some ladies where, if he wasn't on like that, they would not think twice about that dude. But do you think that had a lot to do with, the Fat Boys? Because obviously Fat Boys have videos with girls rubbing all on them, and I'm pretty sure girls that love them too. So
I think not really the Fat Boys, but I think I think it's Prince Marky D. I think that again, when you saw him on videos and the movies and stuff like that, he always had a chick around. You know what I'm saying? When he did that Swing My Way, he was rocking with chicks. You know what I'm saying? And chicks was vibing with him. And I think that he was kind of big sexy, how they was looking at him. You know what I'm saying? And then that did matriculate down to Heavy D, and then that's a direct influence to Biggie, because I told people years ago that Biggie actually has some of Heavy D's flow and cadence. You got to look deep into it. There's a couple of Heavy D songs that came out. If you close your eyes and just listen to the way he's rhyming, Biggie took some of that. It's just influence, not a bad thing. It's a great thing. You know what I'm saying? Nas took that from G-Rap and Rakim. It happens to everyone. You know what I'm saying? That's how it is. Marvin Gaye took some from Sam Cooke probably. So I just think that, again, man, what they did and then what Prince Marky D did was open the door for more heavier type of MCs to feel confident. Now look what happened with Rick Ross. You know what I'm saying? You see where he was confident when he was kind of heavy set, but it didn't stop him from going at chicks. You know what I mean? And just any other MC that might have came over the years who didn't have a typical look what you think. I think the Fat Boys were like Pun again. Even though Pun, before he got fat, looked like Christopher Williams, but even when he got fat, chicks were still digging him. So I think Fat Boy started that, where it ain't just the look anymore. It's everything else I'm bringing to the table. I'm funny. I got charisma. I can do this. I can do that. Chicks be like, oh, he's kind of whatever. So, they was able to matriculate down to the next era, man. And we still seeing that now. It's not just about the look anymore. Because at one point in hip hop, you had to look like a certain type of whatever as far as MCing. You know what I mean? Whether it's the street dude, or the dude on the West Coast is like he in the gang, or you know what I'm saying, or somebody from the South dressing a certain way. You still had to represent a certain image. You know what I'm saying? And the Fat Boys, they broke that mold when they came out, because at that time everybody was trying to dress like Run DMC. At some point, they had influenced everybody. Everybody wanted Adidas on or whatever. So they just kind of pulled all the way. Even with the cane go on and his shoes and the way he had his sweats on, Fat Boys broke all that stigmas. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, I think that they influence more people than people think. I even think that the human beatbox, like you said earlier, he had that bass and he had that very unique way he did the beatbox. I think Biggie's voice was bass. You know what I'm saying? Like all of these little things like that, I just think that they're just really not getting the props they deserve, man. I'm really glad to be doing this show because, man, the Fat Boys, it was dope, man.
Yeah, like if you let somebody who wasn't around when the Fat Boys was out and doesn't know, you let them tell the story on the Fat Boys, the most they know is that Jay-Z said first the Fat Boys broke up or break up. Now every day I wake up. Like, they don't understand that what Jay-Z is basically saying there is like, man, the Fat Boys was the shit. So
they broke up.
It's a group you don't want to break up. You know what I'm saying? And I think
that's true.
Unfortunately, given everything we talked about, like what happened with them as a group, and whether it was money, whether it was being out of the time, I think and this is similar to a lot of cases we would bring up here, is the simple fact that in hip hop, and obviously this is a question for you, Tone. In hip hop, especially back then, we clearly would age out of artists, and we wouldn't give them but maybe 3 to 4 years, if that. Like you get 3 to 4 years, you're doing well.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But some people would just move on because you represented a certain time. And with hip hop going, hold on, what's these white people singing? Okay, they go to R. All right. I was getting a little I was like, what's going on? But
R back there.
If you listening to this, you gotta watch the video to know what I was talking about. But you know what I'm saying, you look at the situation and you it's unfair now when you look back at it, because I'm not even gonna front. When I was younger, I was just like everybody else. I was quick to write you off if I felt like it wasn't hitting anymore and this was better or this is what was happening. Like if I'm into Death Row,
right,
and they dropping joints here and there, and they like, yo, Prince Marky D got a new album coming out, and I'm like, he has an album out and Deep Cover just came out. Right. Why would I go listen to Prince Marky D at all when this is newness? And I think that's what was terrible for a lot of our older artists, even this brother here. You know what I'm saying? Because there's no reason why Rakim can't sell out a stadium with hip hop being a #1 genre. So, Tone, to you, I just wanted to pose that question of why do you think, in particular with the Fat Boys and people like them, where they were so big as a group, why do we as hip hop fans, especially at that time, and even now, we're not bringing them up, why do we forget these legends, these guys who had these kinds of influences on the hip hop game and the artists that we do love?
Unfortunately, man, that's why these type of podcasts and even our song are here, because at times we have a short attention span. We get caught up into what's good right now. Like, you got a young fan, for example, who loves J. Cole, right? But if you listen to J. Cole, he made a song called Let Nas Down. Yeah. So maybe we need to go listen to Nas and see the reason why he even made that song. Then you listen to Nas, like, well, who influenced him? Well, if I watched the video for Fast Life, I see G-Rap on there. So let me listen to G-Rap and Rakim and all these guys. So I just think, man, there's a short attention span with hip-hop sometimes, and the hip-hop purists have to remind the casual fans or just the fans who just enjoy the moment of where certain things came from, certain influence. And again, unfortunately, like the Fat Boys, because people don't look at them as the super lyrical, even though they were underrated lyrically, people don't look at them from that era like they will look at Run and Melly Mel, and Grandmaster Caz and some of the other guys from that Takumo D from that time. So unfortunately, their rhymes didn't translate past that. So unfortunately, like certain other people, even like Curtis Blow, they got trapped in time. You know what I'm saying? So it's like going back and reading a history book. I'm not thinking about Pearl Harbor right now, even though I love history. But if I go back in the history book, I say, oh, the Japs, they attacked us. You know what I'm saying? So but I'm not thinking about that every day. I would think about 9/11 before I thought about Pearl Harbor attack.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like going back in the hip hop archives to that moment in hip hop. You're like, oh, that was a moment in hip hop when these three fat dudes were really popping, touring the world with Run DMC and Houdini and all these people. And even at one point, Grandmaster Flash and Melly Mel. So, and then they lasted 7 albums, and 4 of them were charted albums, with 3 of them was gold and 1 was platinum. So, then you go back and say, damn, I didn't know that. So some people might listen to this podcast now and be like, oh, I thought the Fat Boys had like 1 or 2 songs and that was it. And it's like, no, they had like 10. You know what I'm saying? So it's just unfortunate, but that's what history does, man. For us historians, we have to go back and just kind of remind people of why certain people were very influential, man. And unfortunately, some people, because of time can be kind to you, or time can be unfair, where you fall beneath the crack for some reason. And then that's all that happened to the Fat Boys, man. And they fell in the cracks of the era they rhymed in. But, their influence lived on, but it was more subtle.
Yeah. I believe so too, and I feel like they go that Chubby Checker record. Kids that is not Muhammad Ali, if that's what you're thinking about. But like, I mean, again, I totally agree, and I feel like shows like this, where we talk about groups like this, because nobody's off limits, and we bring up the nostalgia, or we may inform you of this group. And think about a lot of the things we said here about what this group represented when they were hot, and what they did and what they represented as far as being pioneers for others and paving a way. Think about that, paving a way for somebody like Puff to see fit to sign a Biggie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
to not look at him and be like, nah, he sound good, but he don't look the type. He not LL. To have a Fat Joe or a Big Pun, you know what I'm saying, a Rick Ross, and now it's just completely acceptable. You know what I'm saying? The Fat Boys were a part of the reason why, because they were huge as a group and people respected them. So it's kind of like the same difference, man. And anybody out there, watching or listening, definitely go back. You got these streaming services now. There's no reason why you can't go back and listen to some of those records that made the Fat Boys some hip hop legends in the game. What did you think about the Disco 3, the Fat Boys, whatever you want to call them? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Let us know. We appreciate the comments we were getting, especially on the last episode about Bone Thugs. Keep them coming. Keep the conversation going, man. The Fat Boys is a legendary group. Were you around when they came out? You know what I'm saying? How did you feel about them, or what you heard about them if you weren't around, and what you know about this group and what they provided to the game? Now we're going to get into the part of the show where we do a little segment where we recommend to you what you should go back and listen to beyond just the Fat Boys. And my recommendation for this week is Cypress Hill's sophomore album, no sophomore jinx on this one, called Black Sunday. It was released in 1993, around the same time as that Prince Monkey D record. And Tone, when this album came out, I just wasn't ready. Like, I like Cypress Hill's debut album. I liked the self-titled album, Cypress Hill, How I Could Just Kill a Man, you know what I'm saying, Hand on the Pump and all that. Like, I loved all those records. But, like, around that time, there were a lot of, like, one-hit wonders and, dudes who had a dope first album, but, you was in love with them first records so much you didn't know if they could do it again or even do better. And I think Cypress Hill probably cemented who they were, starting with this album, or basically confirming who they were, because the first album is dope also. But Black Sunday has a ton of hits. What is it about? Well, what is every Cypress Hill album about, especially in the early 90s? Weed and guns.
Yeah.
Everything is an anthem for weed or guns on this album. Some of the dope records, I Want to Get High.
Yeah.
If you smoke weed, this is like an anthem. It even appeared in a Seth Rogen movie that was really dope and really funny. I can't remember the name of it right now. Like a disaster movie or whatever. It appeared on that soundtrack. It was just fitting. Other dope records that you might recognize: Insane in the Membrane, or Insane in the Brain, I should say. When the Shit Goes Down, another dope record. Cock the Hammer, I told you they talk about guns.
Yeah.
Lick a Shot, another dope one. Hits from the Bong also appeared in movies recently. And even Hand on the Glock is on this one. So, you know what I'm saying? Sawed Off Shiny, Hand on the Pump, Hand on the Glock, I guess is the sequel to that. It's about 14 songs deep. I think I really only skipped like 2 records, and it's not because I totally dislike them. It's just the other records are so dope. You feel like these 2 records are a step down, but a very dope album from a group coming back on a sophomore release, cementing themselves as some of the best MCs in the game as far as making dope hip-hop records. Some of the best production from, you know what I'm saying, from their producer, like just producer and DJ, I should say, just all around dope. So if you like Cypress Hill, or you heard a couple of records, or maybe you heard some of the records I mentioned and didn't know who said it, what album it's on, Black Sunday 1993. Tone, what did you think about that album, and what's your recommendation for this week?
Oh yeah, man, Black Sunday is crazy, man. Very dark. You know what I'm saying? DJ Muggs still doing what he was doing from the first album. He didn't miss a beat on the production side. Excuse me, Muggs is one of the dopest producers, man, in the game, period. Like, his discography of beats that he's made, I mean, you will be very surprised if you Google DJ Muggs. You know, he is the sound of Cypress Hill. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, they still sound great on it. You know, they didn't miss a beat. It's possibly even better than the debut. It was 3 times platinum.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's platinum back to back again. You know what I'm saying? So just another dope album. I saw Cypress Hill live back during that time, man, and they sound like rock stars live, man. Very loud, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, Be Real was dope. He sounds just like that in person. You know what I'm saying? When he's rhyming, you know what I'm saying? I like the album. I like the group, man. My recommendation this week is Thug Life Volume 1. Tupac and his group, Thug Life, released in like September of '94. Man, what can I say, man? I was like, yo, this is during the time he had just dropped his Strictly for My Niggas had come out, like a year before that or something like that. And it was right before Me Against the World, right before he got locked up. He was on Interscope Records. And man, one of my favorite Tupac songs of all time, Pour Out a Little Liquor, was on there. And they ended up putting that joint on Above the Rim soundtrack, and it was played during the movie Above the Rim. I love a song called Under Pressure on there. You know what I'm saying? The joint on there, How Long Will They Mourn Me, man.
Yeah.
Yo, I think Nate Dogg is on that one, man. That's a dope song, man. Yeah, man, it Cradle to the Grave, deep. You know what I'm saying? So that was one of the albums where Pac was very, very complicated. So you still had, you had conscious gangster lyrics.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, Pac was always kind of in turmoil with himself almost. And, and it was kind of reflective on that album. He had Mo Cream on there. Who else? Big Psych. And a few other guys. This is right before the Outlaws were introduced to the world. And before a lot of the guys, Dramacyte and all them ended up being on Me Against the World. Some of his original guys right here, Mo Cream and Big Psych and all those guys were on Thug Life Volume 1. And after I heard, I was like, yo, I can't wait to hear Thug Life Volume 2. You know what I'm saying? And then all that stuff went down. And so really Thug Life Volume 2, I guess, probably ended up being what we know as Me Against the World. But dope album from Pac and his crew, man. I still listen to it. I think his guy that ended up getting killed, Stretch. I think Stretch did a couple of joints on there with Live Squad. I think they did some production on there as well. It's just dope, man. You know what I'm saying? What was your thoughts on Thug Life? You remember hearing that joint?
Yeah, man. Like my joint was How Long Will They Mourn Me, but the one that really got me was Pour Out a Little Liquor, man. That it reminded me of why I love Tupac, like, before, it became popular to do so. You know,
Right.
the seeing him for the first time with Digital Underground with the African garb on the Do What You Like video, when I was just like, the dude just took my attention with his verse, with how he spit over the beat, his presence in the video. Same thing happened with Brenda's Got a Baby. The storytelling, he kind of captured my attention. So when I heard Pour Out a Little Liquor, it just took me right back to those same moments of, even if I'm not running to the store or paying attention to, the next project, dude knows how to capture my attention with thought-provoking lyrics. And Pour Out a Little Liquor is just one of those records, man, where it's just like, this, not anybody could make a record like that. You know what I'm saying? And sound that sincere over that track. So I was a big fan, man. Like Tone said, it's that time kind of becomes a blur, man, because so much was happening with Tupac that you ain't know whether to pay attention to the music or the media, because it was so much going on. And like Tone said, you not only was Tupac kind of fighting within himself, but we felt the same way, you know what I'm saying? Between, this dude's could be going to jail, he's getting shot, but this album's out, and you know what I'm saying? Like, he's a very polarizing figure, and I think that's why his name still rings bells. But some of that early stuff was dope, man. So y'all definitely need to go check that out. Thug Life Volume 1, Cypress Hill's Black Sunday, 2 dope albums from the early mid-90s. You know, time in hip-hop. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you enjoyed it that much and you're like, man, I love everything y'all doing, well, hit that subscribe button. Don't be shy. If you like this episode in particular, hit that like button. If you have a comment about anything we mentioned, leave it in the comment section below. Trust me, I know for a fact that we both check the comments and respond to your comments, so keep them coming. But more importantly, share this with people enjoy this kind of content. You can check out my Hip Hop News podcast, Hip Hop Now podcast, available everywhere in audio form. And you can go and visit intothedome.com and check out Tone's brand new article on Nipsey Hussle, man. It's really good. You know what I'm saying? Rest in peace again to Nipsey Hussle. It's just one of them times in hip hop, man, where it's another impact, another person that had a huge impact on the game as an artist as well as a man. And Tone really took his time with this article to really lay that out for you and have some reflection as as we memorialize his brother. So check that out. That's at intothedome.com. Obviously, it's in the description below, so you can just click on that and you'll be there. But until next time, y'all, man, go out and support hip hop music. Peace.
Peace.
Drop it on the random.